everybody, jump on into the live stream. I am your host, Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams, and today we're taking a look at the President's press conference, which is happening right now. As we speak, I've listened to a little bit of it. I had to take Kevinly daughter to get a COVID test because it's 2020, and so I'm behind. I think the press conference is already over, but we're going to take a look at it, review it, and I'll give you my commentary, and you share your commentary in the chat, or just watch along at home. If you'd like to support this broadcast, very easy to do. Just go to kevinlyfather.com. You can become a patron there, like Kim and Stephanie, Joanna, everybody else in the chat room. If you'd like to support and give me some payment immediately, paypal.me/KevinlyDad. So Trump is going to tell us how great things are with this whole coronavirus thing. So head on out and have a good time this weekend, kids. Let's take a listen.
Begin Labor Day weekend. America's unprecedented economic recovery continues. You see what's going on. It's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, well, it's unprecedented because we've never had a virus like this cripple the economy and wipe away a third of our GDP.
United States economy added today, announced this morning, 1.4 million jobs last month, bringing the total to over 10.6 million jobs created in just 4 months. That's a record.
No jobs are created. There are a few census jobs that have been created, about 500,000. The other jobs are just people returning from being furloughed.
In August, we added 249,000 retail jobs, 174,000 leisure and hospitality jobs, and 29,000 new manufacturing jobs.
We're still down tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs, so yeah.
The unemployment rate plummeted to 8.4%.
That's not good.
The second largest single month drop ever recorded, surpassed only by our big decline in June. Last month, we saw large declines in the unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans.
African American unemployment rate is still 13%, if I'm remembering what I read this morning.
Big declines. We're witnessing the fastest labor market recovery from any economic crisis in history.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
By contrast, the last administration had the
coming out of a recession, a naturally occurring recession, not being forced to shut down businesses temporarily. But yeah, that's comparable.
Lowest, weakest, and worst recovery in American history. That was well documented, as you know. This year, the United States...
But it's got nothing to do with this recession. This recession has been caused directly by a pandemic.
Has seen the smallest economic contraction of any major Western nation.
That's not true.
And we are recovering at a much faster rate than any other nation.
Well, some of the numbers look better than any other Western nation. They don't. But anyway, because we went down so far. And now the numbers coming back look bigger, even though we never shut down the whole country. We did like a 50% shutdown, according to Dr. Fauci.
Business confidence is higher today in America than
doesn't mean anything
in any other G7 or EU country. That covers a lot of territory. So
yeah.
We have the business confidence is higher than any of those countries.
That's what you just said. July, it doesn't mean anything. Business confidence is just what I think about. That's not a solid figure, but yeah, you go with that.
Retail sales not only recovered, but reached a new all-time high. So think of that. Retail sales, that's a very basic statistic, and it's a big statistic. It only recovered.
Hold on. He just said retail sales are at an all-time high? That is impossible. I'll check.
But reached the highest level ever.
No.
Auto sales have surged to an incredible 74%. Since their April low and are nearly back to their
Since our April low, yes, in the height of the pandemic.
Virus levels. And that's been a tremendous thing. Used cars and new cars have been both doing incredibly well. Mortgage applications were 27% higher in August than during the same period last year. Home builder sentiment reached the highest level on record, indicating that more high-paying construction jobs are on the way. Home building has been great, and lending has been really incredible. U.S. manufacturing activity reached a 19-month high in August. While my administration has fought every day to restore prosperity, however, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in Congress are holding additional China virus relief hostage to reasons that nobody understands. I guess I do. I think I understand. It's called politics. And speaking of politics, I think North Carolina, I think that Michigan and Pennsylvania and other states, they should open, the Democrat governors should open the states. They'll open them on November 4th, but they should open them now. It's very unfair to the people to have those shut down.
Absolutely no evidence that any governor is keeping parts of a state closed until November 4th. None.
It's continuing at the level that they're continuing.
No, auto sales are not almost back to normal. That's also not true. We're having good auto sales because for 3 months nobody bought a car.
Democrats are insisting on a massive taxpayer bailout of badly run blue states, stimulus checks for illegal aliens, and the mass release of inmates from jail. They want to release a lot of inmates, some of them for very serious reasons. They want to release them from jail. They want that as part of a stimulus package. Can you believe it? It's time for the Democrats in Congress to start working across the aisle and put the American people first. Now, we have $300 billion in an account that we didn't use, $300 billion, and we are willing to use that.
You can't.
I would
Congress.
be willing to release it, subject to Congress, and use that as stimulus money, and it would go right to the American people. So we have $300 billion sitting in an account that we didn't need because things are going so well with the economy. But it would be a very appropriate thing to release that to the American people, and I am willing to do it. All we need is a sign-off. But that doesn't mean that we're going to release prisoners, some very vicious people, actually. We're not going to put them on the streets like the Democrats want us to. And we're not going to give stimulus checks to illegal aliens. They came into the country illegally, and now we give them a check. We want to give the checks
Wait, they came into the country how? Go ahead.
The American people. Very vicious people, actually. We're not going to put them on the streets like the Democrats want us to.
Same guy who brags about the First Step Act, getting inmates out of jail, how he's going to pardon and commute all these sentences. Same guy.
And we're not going to give stimulus checks to illegal aliens. They came into the country illegally, and now we give them a check. We want to give the check.
How did they come in?
Some prisoners, some very vicious people, actually. We're not going to put them on the streets like the Democrats want us to. And we're not going to give stimulus checks to illegal aliens. They came into the country illegally, and now we give them a check.
Eagerly? They came in eagerly? All right, hold on. I'm getting that down. What is that? 3110.
We want to give the checks to the American people. So remember, we have $300 million. It's there. We don't need the money. We don't need anything. Just let that money get released to the American people. As our economy rebounds, there's only one thing that could stop the extraordinary economic comeback and wipe out the future of American workers, and that's what the Democrats want to do with a $4 trillion tax hike, implementing things that will be really bad for our country. And this will just absolutely cripple what we're doing on regulation.
Oh, I checked the retail. It's not even close. Yeah, we don't even have the figures for August yet. So, but even if the figures for August are amazing, we're nowhere close.
And so many other elements of success. We had the greatest economy in history prior to the China virus coming in. Now they want to stop regulations. They want to bring up regulations to a level, stop the things that we're doing, which are at a much smaller level, and bring up regulations at a level that nobody's ever seen before. They want to do things that will make it impossible for any economy to grow. They want to ban fracking. And as you saw, ban, and all of a sudden he sees his polls going down, and now he says, well, I was only talking about not maybe banning fracking, but he wants to ban fracking. And
he's never said he wanted to ban fracking.
It doesn't matter what he wants to ban. The people that control him want to ban fracking. And whether it's Pennsylvania,
the people that control him. Okay, that's what it is.
Texas, Oklahoma, North Dakota, so many other states, you can't.
No new fracking is what he's talking about. A very, very limited new fracking.
Can't ban fracking. That would be a disaster. Ohio want to abolish American energy. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Adopt disastrous trade deals and inflict a devastating shutdown. As you know, he said we want to shut it down. We would be willing to shut it down. And you don't shut down when we're setting records. And by the way, we're rounding the corner. We're rounding the corner on the virus.
Oh, the corner now. We're not rounding the curve like we were this morning. Now we're rounding the corner. That actually makes a little more sense.
Blanket shutdown would collapse our economy, would cause countless deaths from suicide, drug, alcohol abuse, heart disease, and more. You know, shutdowns cause a lot of problems.
Not anywhere close to 200,000 extra deaths. That's why there's 200,000 extra deaths.
A lot of very serious problems.
Yeah.
More so than the virus itself. Biden's plan is...
I didn't know it was possible to hate Trump any more than you already do, Chris.
It's not a solution. It's a virtual surrender. And our country is doing so well. We're starting to do so well. I think we're going to have a great third quarter. I mean, you're going to see it for yourself because the numbers will be announced sometime prior to the election on November 3rd.
Uh-huh.
And as you know, Joe...
The numbers will be announced, and one side will play them down as, oh, my God, how terrible. And the other side will go, oh, what a victory, what amazing, what unprecedented, so much better than H1N1.
Spent his entire career sending American jobs to China and other far-away countries. For 47 years, people were pillaging our country, taking our jobs.
The corporations, American corporations were having products built overseas. The politicians weren't sending them overseas, Republican or Democrat.
Taking our companies. And that's never going to change with that mindset and with that group. Biden is not going to be standing up to these foreign countries. He's not going to be standing up, maybe more importantly, to the people that run the Democrat Party. He doesn't have the strength.
So on the one hand, Biden's not going to be standing up to these foreign countries. On the other hand, so angry that Biden's on tape telling the Ukrainian government they better fire that corrupt prosecutor or they're not getting the loan guarantee. So, because that wasn't standing up to the government.
Thanks to do that, he refuses even to condemn Antifa, a bad group, a far-left domestic terrorist organization.
Condemns all violence. Antifa's included in that. Any violence whatsoever of any sort. This is what he said.
He doesn't want to say anything bad about it. His plan to appease the domestic terrorists is the exact opposite of what I'm doing. Now, I think you saw that last night. Yesterday, the U.S. Marshals, we sent them in, U.S. Marshals. We were waiting for local government to take care of it. But they didn't do that, so the U.S. Marshals went in, law enforcement. They took down the Antifa member who murdered a man in
the local cops were involved in that as well. This was in Lacey, Washington.
Middle of a street in Portland. The suspect was killed after drawing a weapon when officers attempted to take him into custody. They wanted to take him in. The U.S. Marshals, credible people. So I want to thank them for their strength, their bravery.
What do you know about being credible people?
And I really do wish that the mayor of Portland and the governor of Oregon would get going and stop the crime in that city. It'd be so easy to do. Well, we're focused on creating good-paying jobs.
Yeah, crime is so easy to stop.
Radical left is focused on unleashing really violent mobs, and you see that.
You're the president. Why do we have any crime? I thought that this American carnage stops right here and stops right now. That's what you said January 20th, 2017. And yet, here we are in your America.
Whether you're conservative or liberal, Republican, Democrat, or independent, we must all agree the need for peace and order and safety.
Well, you're welcome with us.
Under my administration, law enforcement is conducting arrests nationwide of rioters, looters, and domestic terrorists. The reasons we didn't put Chicago into our list, where we're holding back funds from some of these states and cities that are doing such a poor job, such an incompetent job, a job that nobody can even imagine how bad. And we're holding it back until they get their act together. And we are having a lot of people in Chicago right now, and you notice that their numbers are going down rapidly. But we've deployed a lot of federal law enforcement inside of Chicago, and they're taking out quite a few people, and they're being arrested, they're being put in jail, and that's why you see those numbers going down. That's why you see that with respect to the mayor, we did not hold back funds in Chicago. But New York is experiencing a tremendous crime wave, in some cases up over 300%, and they have to do something quickly. We just spoke to Mayor Bowser, and she's willing to do what.
Okay, I don't know what he's talking about because the stats just came in for Chicago for August, and murders are up 50% from 2019, the same as the previous month, July. So I don't know what did he say? Rapidly falling? It's just not true at all.
Whatever is necessary. We had a very good talk with her. It's in D.C. And the other places, they speak for themselves. We're working with the state and local authorities to comb through hours of videotape, identify and arrest suspects, and prosecute lawbreakers. We've already got over 300 in jail, and we have tremendous evidence, and I want to thank the media for helping us out, because they're taking different angles. We have it from every different angle. You can't probably have any better than what we've got.
Yeah, Jack, it's not retirement homes. There's a different classification. But yes, anywhere between 6,000 and 11,000 deaths in New York retirement homes under Cuomo. Also under Trump, by the way, federal guidelines. But yes, there's been a lot of old people dying. It's terrible.
We see it from the sky and the ground, and from the right and from the left. So when they say they didn't do it, we say, well, what's this?
Enemy, so thank you, enemy, the people.
The media, free of charge. Under Operation Legend, we've surged federal law enforcement to cities.
Yeah, there aren't 300 in jail. 300 arrested is what he's talking about. 2 weeks ago, Attorney General Barr claimed that there's been 200 arrests in Kansas under the Legend Project. There'd been one. This administration just makes up whatever money they want.
By violent crime. The initiative has already resulted in tremendous success, and nationwide we have over 2,000 arrests, and we don't talk about it too much, but now we might as well. So we've arrested over 2,000 criminals.
Oh, sorry, Marcy.
The criminals, and in a single month, murder rate in Chicago, as you know, and as I said, it was cut in half, actually. So,
well, those were the CDC guidelines at the time, Jack Squat, and the homes were supposed to be able to handle that. So, yeah, I mean, there's the people dying in homes all over the place. They're dying in Washington, dying in California, dying in Texas, dying in that's. Yeah, if Cuomo did something wrong, then great, prosecute him. But again, this is all under Trump. He is the president of New York. He didn't ignore Javits Center. The hospitals didn't send anybody to Javits Center. They managed to. The people of New York really need to be given the credit. But yeah, New York, New Jersey, the old folks' homes there were as a terrible situation.
On the China virus front, the nations of Europe have experienced a 38% greater excess mortality than the United States. 38% more greater excess mortality than the United States. A lot of you don't want to report that. And if we took New York out of the equation, there's nobody even close. The job we've done is incredible, and we don't get any credit for it, but we've done an incredible job. Through Operation Warp Speed, we have 3 vaccines in the final stage of clinical trials. Yesterday, Pfizer announced, I just spoke to the head of Pfizer, great guy. They announced that it expects to have the results of its trial very, very shortly, next month, but very shortly. We remain on track to deliver a vaccine before the end of the year, and maybe even before November 1st. We think we can probably have it sometime during the month of October, and Pfizer is among the leaders.
No one is saying that. This morning, the Surgeon General on ABC just said that it's impossible to have the virus or the vaccine by the end of October. Okay, Jack, you can do that. Why don't you start up a live stream or something? You can talk about Cuomo. A lot of people are dying because we're not testing. The government screwed up the test. We didn't test in February while the virus was seeding, and we completely ignored the fact the virus was coming in from New York. If you look at the strain of the virus that killed all those old folks in New York, it came out of Europe, and it was completely ignored by the Trump administration because the CDC, Trump's CDC, screwed up the testing. That's the bottom line. That's why we are where we are today.
As you know, and it's a great company.
I have no affinity for Cuomo. If he did something illegal, if he did something wrong, if he killed people, throw him to the dogs. I don't care. What do I care about Cuomo?
Johnson & Johnson also doing very well.
Everyone's responsible for themselves, except this guy right here. He doesn't take any responsibility. He says it many times. The buck stops with everybody. I don't take any responsibility. That's what he says.
Moderna. We have some really great companies. They're all doing very well. They're all in final stages. And I think you're going to see results that are shockingly good. Finally, I want to provide you with a brief update of the virus. Cases in the United States have declined 28% nationwide over the last month.
That sounds about
and
right.
Hospitalizations and deaths have continued to decline over the past week, very substantially declined. Thanks to America's medical genius, the mortality rate has been. The United States have declined 28% nationwide over the last month.
Yeah.
And hospitalizations and deaths have continued to decline over the past week, very substantially declined.
I'm not sure what Klein is.
Thanks to America's medical genius, the mortality rate has been reduced by 85% in April. Mortality rate.
Yeah, in April, because we weren't doing any testing in April. Jackson, when he was giving advice, then blamed Trump for following it. I don't even know what you're saying. Jack, try and stay on topic here, please. Just take your meds and stay on task.
Reduced by 85%. Hospital lengths of stay are 1/3 of their average length in April.
Yeah, that's about right.
So the hospitalization's down. The length of stay is way down.
Mm-hmm.
In order to keep making progress.
You know why? Because they're taking the people out and sending them back to the old folks' homes where they can actually care for them. And now the old folks' home finally have the right protection from the federal government so they can care for the old folks properly.
Against the virus, we ask all Americans to remain vigilant, especially over Labor Day. You know, you have the Labor Day weekend coming upon us immediately. I guess we can say pretty immediately.
Yes, it's here.
And we need everybody to be careful, to apply common sense, and do all of the things that we've told you to do as quickly, as much as you can. Social distancing, wearing a mask whenever the distancing is not possible, and staying with a group that you know. Let's just try and get through this one weekend, and I think we have a chance.
Terrible advice. No, don't stay with a group that you know. Just because you know someone doesn't mean they don't have the virus.
Of doing that, just social distance, wash your hands, all of the hygiene things that we speak about. And we're really rounding the turn. And the vaccines are coming.
Also
the
acceptable.
Therapeutics have already come, but they continue to come. The convalescent plasma has had a tremendous impact already. You see what's happening there, and remdesivir has been incredible. So we have a lot of things happening. We have a lot of therapeutics coming out. I think from the standpoint of common sense, I guess therapeutics to me right now, you go into a hospital, you give somebody a shot or transfusion. It might be a transfusion. Probably more than 50% are actually transfused.
Jack, I'm not sure what you're calling BS. Do you want to be clarified with that? I never said anything about people staying home. No problem, Noel. We were saving all the good stuff.
They'll leave the
rounding the term is okay. That's a racing term, like a horse racing term. Rounding the term, coming home. That's fine.
Hospital shortly thereafter.
He was saying rounding the curve earlier today and yesterday, which it doesn't make sense. It's not a thing.
After, I mean, to me, that's more important in a certain sense than the vaccine, but the vaccines will be great over the long term, the therapeutics over the short term, and also knowing you have the therapeutics, I think, is great from the standpoint of mind. From the standpoint of the mind, that's great. So I want to in the vaccine, but the vaccines will be great over the long term.
Yeah.
The therapeutics over the short term, and also knowing you have the therapeutics, I think, is great from the standpoint of mind. From the standpoint of the mind,
From the
It's
standpoint
great.
of the mind,
So-
so go the days of our lives. From the from the standpoint of mind. He says some stupid things, but that is beyond what? Moving on.
I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to ask Larry Kudlow to give a couple of examples of
Oh, the
how
Cud's back.
strong our economy
We were just
is
talking about him.
recovering, how strongly it's recovering, and it's setting records at every level, and we're doing better than every other country. And we're very proud of all of the people for doing such an
We're not doing better than every other country.
incredible job. This is a V. It's a super V.
No
Again,
such
we
thing.
have $300 billion ready to go. All Congress has to do is say use it. If they say use it,
Because they control the purse strings. Yes, that is the way it works. Congress controls the purse strings.
I'd like to use it without their permission, but I guess I'm not allowed to do
Can't.
that. I did
No,
ask
you're
that
not.
question.
Can't.
So Congress
That's not going to stop you from trying to do it anyway, but you can't.
has to just say use it. All they have to do is say use it. $300 billion gets immediately put into our system.
I turned my sound down. I
And
didn't want to be too
will
loud.
really help the
turn it
American
back
people.
up.
There's nothing else to do. Just a very quick statement. So I'm going to ask Larry.
Kaylee did not want to deal with any questions today, so she just read her statement and out she went. Did she start with OAN? I can't even remember today, but yeah, she didn't take it. Yeah, the Dow was at a record high this week. Yeah, and then it went right back down the very next day. But the Dow is not the economy, Jack. That shows what you know about the economy, Jack.
To come up. I want to thank another man for being here today. There's a man that's an incredible leader, Lou Holtz. I've known him for a long time. He's been a friend of mine, and
Coach of Notre Dame for the football team for many years, or Notre Dame, as you Americans say.
I think I've received letters from every football coach almost in the nation. Now, that's a little
Really?
exaggeration, but
Yes,
some,
it is an
some of the
exaggeration.
greats.
It's very much
Nick
an
Saban
exaggeration.
wrote a letter. Coach O, and Coach O is central casting. I said we're going to have to put him in a movie, right, as a football coach.
Yeah, but central casting is just extras. They don't say anything.
He'd really be good playing a football coach like you.
In the background.
And Urban Meyer wrote a beautiful letter, and so many of the other great legendary
many
coaches.
beautiful letters.
Not only coaches, though, people in sports and people in life, and even great political people recommending Lou for the
I'm a people in life. Have I written? Are you guys people in life? Have you guys written?
Presidential Medal of Freedom. And we've analyzed it very closely.
He's giving Lou Holtz the Presidential Medal of Freedom because, of course, you've got doctors who flew from Montana to New York to help save lives and slept 3 hours in 5 weeks. But yeah, the retired football coach guy. He's the.
We've looked at all of those.
I mean, honestly, Rush Limbaugh has one, so what does it take? I've got 4 or 5 right behind my shelf here.
Recommendations. We've looked at Lou's life and his career and what he's done for charity. And the football is obvious. He was a great coach, but what he's done beyond even coaching. So Lou will be getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
You've analyzed it,
And
have
the
you?
date is being picked. It won't be in the too distant future. Lou is married to a great woman, right?
We can't contact trace the virus, but we've analyzed Lou Holtz's life.
Right, Lou? Great woman, and she just passed away a few months ago. Is an incredible woman. She was stronger. I knew her well. She was stronger than Lou. I think she was stronger than you, Lou. I hate to tell you, you're strong too. But she was special, right?
What's
So
happening?
I just want to congratulate Coach Lou Holtz on soon to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And we look forward to that, Lou. Thank you very much. And you can stay around and listen to Larry for a couple of seconds or go to your friend. You probably know half of the people in the room. I'll bet they treat you better than they treat me.
Oh, yeah.
They treat him good. I wish you'd treat me that way. Larry, come on up.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Again, Coach, many congrats. Many congrats.
Here comes cherry picking Kudlow.
Just to underscore the president's assessment of the economy, very strong jobs report today, 8.4% unemployment rate.
That's not very strong, but yeah, it's better than it was. We're still missing half the jobs, essentially, and we've lost 3.5 million jobs. That's half as many jobs as were created. Permanent job losses, by the way, gone, not coming back. Oh, is he sleeping?
1.4 million payrolls increased, but I want to add 3.8 million increase in the important household survey, which aims at small businesses particularly, and from which the unemployment is calculated. In the past 4 months, we've generated a 10.6 million increase in payrolls and a 14 million increase in households. So we've restored basically half of the jobs that were lost in the pandemic.
So it's glass half full, or glass, I can't afford anything to put into the glass because I don't have a job for 15 million Americans kind of situation. What?
Contraction. Today's report.
Yeah, 250,000 of those are temporary census jobs. You're correct, Trevor. And again, 3.5 million permanent jobs permanently gone.
Also included the lower wage industries and minority groups across the board. The diffusion index was a whopping 69%. So these gains are very, very broad-based.
All that means is the regular jobs are just coming back, so across sectors.
There's still too many people out. There's still too much hardship, still too many unemployed.
Yes.
And we're working on that, and we're moving in the right direction.
Yes,
and that's
we are.
why today's numbers are encouraging and optimistic. Now, other areas that the president mentioned, just to underscore, we are in a housing boom. There can be no disagreement about that. Sales,
I would disagree with
mortgage
that.
applications, prices, home starts up 23% annually in July.
Right, in July over previous months because there was no building because they weren't allowed to build.
We're in a car boom, automobile boom.
Yeah.
We've gone from 8.7 million in sales to 15.2 million in sales in the recent 4 months. It's a big jump.
In the recent 4 months. Right. You're framing everything from 0 to 60.
As the president mentioned, the leading indicator of that is used car sales and prices. The manufacturing indexes are very strong. This recovery includes manufacturing. The ISM's running in the high 50s. The new order index is at 68. Production index is 63. We had a manufacturing report for durables, core durables. Over the past 3 months, orders up 35%, shipments up 35%. So these are very strong numbers. New business applications from 25,000 to 66,000. It's a 160% gain through August. And as the president referred, consumer spending is booming. We're up 84% annually over the past 3 months. My view, of course.
80. Did you guys hear what he just did? I'm going to have you listen to it. And I don't want to. Just listen to it, and you're going to understand what he did there. Because it makes sense if you've been drinking your vodka Slurpees.
From 25,000 to 66,000, it's a 160% gain through August.
Yeah.
And as the president referred, consumer spending is booming. We're up 84% annually over the past 3 months.
84% annually over the past 3 months. You take the 3 months before that, it's a very different story. But you can't really do that. You can't take 3 to 4 or 7 months and decide like, oh, we're just going to project that out annually and make it. So to Larry's credit, he didn't just say 84%. He said 84% annually, but then qualified, because I was like 84% annually, and then he threw in over the past 3 months. Come on. But people will hear this and just think like, oh, we're up. Retail's up 84% over for the year over last year. I'm buying twice as much stuff as I did the year before. No, of course not. This is all just cherry picking.
My view, of course, we are in a V-shaped recovery. It is a
That's bullshit. It's a super V, and you know it, Cud.
Self-sustaining recovery. High demand, increased production and manufacturing, along with decline in inventories, will give us a tremendous momentum going into the second half of the year. I still reckon that the third quarter will be at least 20% growth. The Atlanta Fed's GDP Now index is close to 30%. I think 20% is a good number. I think the whole second half and next year.
Well, we were down by a third, so 20% gets us back to, what, 79-ish? But yeah, okay.
Provided that
Yeah, what is wrong with admitting that we got hit by a pandemic? And regardless of laying blame, who could have done what or whatever, it is a K economy. What's up, K-Dog? Why can't we just admit, yeah, it's really, really bad, and we're going to do whatever we can to fix things, and we're going to help out the American people, and stop quibbling about who's this and that, the other, and it's somebody's fault, and it's not somebody else's fault, and stop spilling on yourself, Kevin? What is happening? Why can't we just say, hey, Americans need help right now. Let's fix it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's Republican, Democrat, or whatever. I mean, we're all Americans, right? At least I thought we were.
economic policies remain pro-growth. And I just want to mention one thing on the policy front. I simply don't understand the other side wanting a $4 trillion tax increase
I guess I'm the other side.
Pandemic contraction. And
nobody wants a $4 trillion tax increase. That's just not on the table. Biden, and this was just reviewed by the Washington Post and by PolitiFact and by somebody else at Tax Policy Center. The name escapes me. If you're paying $400,000, or if you've got way too much money if you're paying $400,000. If you're making more than $400,000 a year, yes, your taxes will go up. If you're making less than $400,000 a year, for the most part, no, you're not going to see a tax increase under Biden's plan.
On this point, I believe vast majority of economists, I don't care if you're a Keynesian, demand sider, supply sider.
I'm a K economist.
You just don't raise taxes by this amount or by any amount, really.
Nobody is. No one's raising taxes by that amount. So,
but $4 trillion, really picking the pockets of taxpayers who are returning to work now and need all the resources they can get. You just don't do it.
Okay,
the
but
profession
no one's
should
doing
be
it.
Have a complete consensus on that.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite surprised.
And that's
and
why
I think
nobody's
that
doing
is a
it.
potential obstacle. And people are beginning to speak about that. But
I mean, Larry knows some stuff. I just don't understand why he grasps at these straws. There's no point to it. Well, I mean, yes, I get it. It's political. So I take that back. I was wrong. I do understand why. But why? Do you see what I'm saying? Am I making any sense?
all I can say is factually, the numbers are coming in very positively. There's a lot of optimism.
That's not how factually works. Factually, the numbers are coming in. That's how factually works. Positive or negative, that's a matter of opinion.
Going on.
I mean, unless you're just talking about positively, meaning above zero, then yes, some of them are and some of them are not, in which case, not factual. But
more work to be done.
Yes,
but,
yes.
We're rolling in the right direction, sir. Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
yeah, we
it.
are. Okay, why don't you say that? I'd have no problem with that.
Okay, please.
Thank you, President Trump. If I could first ask you a clarifying question about the $300 billion.
Yeah.
You've ruled out doing that unilaterally. You're going to wait for Congress to repurpose it
Yeah.
for stimulus checks.
Yeah, what about it?
Oh, is that correct? You're waiting for
Well, I
Congress?
am. There's a theory that I can do it without the approval, but
No.
I'd rather get the approval so
The theory. What theory?
that we have it. But there's a theory I could take the $300 billion. It's money that we have, money that we built up, and money that we haven't spent, and I would love
It's money that was allocated.
to give it to the American people as a very powerful stimulus. So,
That's what, like $900 a piece? Okay.
yeah, I think there is a theory that I could do it without having to go back, but I think it would be appropriate
I theory that he's going to do it anyway.
to go back, and I would ask Congress to approve it. It's a very simple approval. It's literally a one-sentence approval, and the Democrats should do that. The Republicans will do that. They'd be glad to do that. So we'll see whether or not they do it. Okay, please in the back.
We will.
Yes, Mr. President, our editor-in-chief, John Solomon, had an exclusive interview.
Is she OAN? Oh, she must. You know what? So she just mentioned John Solomon that was with The Hill. John Solomon has a long history of completely inaccurate reporting. In fact, he was torn apart during the impeachment hearings. He was the guy who kept coming out with Ukrainian surprises of Joe Biden's kid and all the others. So John Solomon is heavily, heavily into the Hannity world. She works with John Solomon. He was at The Hill. He was put in charge of their new media division. They had a television station for a while. I don't know if they were trying to make a television station basically online. And I think that's gone away. John Solomon's gone away from The Hill as far as I know, and he started up some other division of something or other. So she's with John Solomon and therefore has zero credibility. But let's hear what she has to say. Plus, she's standing in the back of the room. She doesn't have a seat, which tells us that probably like OAN, she's not supposed to be there.
With the head of the Delaware Fraternal Order of Police chapter. He said that they were going to endorse you instead of their native son, Joe Biden. I'd like your response, as well as the National Organization of the Fraternal Order of Police.
Okay, so yeah, she's asking about, hey, the police are endorsing you in Delaware, where Joe Biden, and he's not a native son, by the way. He's from Pennsylvania, which then Trump has criticized him for not being part, because he moved away when he was 9. Could you guys just vote, please? Somebody in here lives in Michigan. I remember that much. Could you vote, please? Allison, where do you live? Can you move to Michigan? Can we all just move to Michigan? Houses in Detroit are cheap. She may be with OAN, because Solomon, I'm sure, is on OAN all the time. I don't get OAN. You don't get OAN. Nobody gets OAN. And I'm not going to pay the $4.99 so I can get OAN. So OAN has 2 channels. And I'm not even going to talk about it. Let's move on.
Endorsing you as well.
Well, I'm honored that Delaware, because I don't see Biden anywhere but Delaware. And I like Delaware too.
He was in Wisconsin. Boy, how long ago was that? Yesterday. Or was it 2 days ago now? I don't even know.
But to have the law enforcement in Delaware give their endorsement to me is really a great honor. It just shows you how pathetic the Democrats are when it comes to crime, when it comes to law and order. So would you please extend...
So on the one hand, the Democrats are pathetic on crime. On the other hand, Joe Biden passed the crime bill, and he needs to pay for that. Like, you can't have it both ways. Joe Biden's either tough on crime or he loves crime. You can't give him credit for doing both. I mean, yes, you can, but you can't.
Very great thanks. It's a great honor to get it from Delaware law enforcement.
KCDC, where are you?
We've gotten it from almost all law enforcement, but that's because every time I see Biden speak, it says Delaware, Delaware, Delaware. He never leaves. I'm all over the country. I'm all over the...
Why would it say Delaware, Delaware, Delaware? Why would they put that 3 times across the... It seems like excessive. One Delaware should be like, oh, it's Delaware. I'm aware.
The place. Yeah, please. Go ahead. Did you have? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Oh, okay. I think it's just the news, because that is their top story today. Is that John Solomon? Let me just track this because I want to have this in my... Yeah, John Solomon. So he's got his own little website now called Just the News. It's justthenews.com, where they also have his podcasts. And they have a shop. You can buy things at Just the News. So there's that.
Germany has said that Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader, was poisoned. What do you think should be done to Russia about that? What is your message to Russia about that? And how should the international community and the United States respond?
Well, I think we have to look at it very seriously if it's the case.
Yeah.
And I think we will. There's nobody been tougher in Russia than I have. We get along. I get along with almost all countries.
Okay.
I get along with North Korea.
And this is Navalny was poisoned. The Germans have said Navalny was poisoned. What's your reaction besides getting along with everyone?
Remember, we were supposed to be going to war with North Korea. If Hillary got elected, you'd be at war right now with North Korea.
We're not talking about hypotheticals thrice over, but yeah.
That would be a very messy war, a very bad war. Millions of people would be
bad
killed.
war with North Korea.
In
We
the
got you.
meantime,
Hillary bad. You
We've
good?
gotten
Got
along
it.
with them. We didn't get to war.
Russia-
Everyone said that if I was elected, I'd be at war in 1 week. It's been just the opposite.
Russia.
We're doing very well in Afghanistan, bringing the troops down, very low level.
Russia.
And other
poison.
things are happening very interestingly. We
Poison.
have a great peace deal going on in the Middle East, actually, with UAE and
not UAE.
Israel,
Russia.
and that's been
Russia.
received like probably very few
Putin.
things that many people have done. It's been very well received.
Russia.
And we'll be having other countries announcing soon they're joining that, and we're
Right.
going to have a
Middle
lot
East.
of countries in that. A lot of countries are saying,
Middle
"Hey, why
East?
didn't you bring us
Russia.
in right from the beginning?" They would have loved
Russia.
to have been there, but
Middle
they
East?
want to.
Russia.
They want to be in. So
Talking about Russia.
we're doing a lot of things. I think that I was the one that alerted the United States and the world. Nord
Is he going to talk about Germany's gas from Russia? Because that's kind of connected to Russia, literally.
Stream 2. I said, why is Germany spending billions and billions of dollars to Russia to get
Yeah, but the Russians, because they have to get their natural gas from Russia. They don't have. Yes, but no, you didn't alert the world to the pipeline. People are well aware that that's how Germany gets its.
their energy from Russia?
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to protect Germany from Russia. What's that all about? And the sanctions and everything else at the same
Because economics and security are two actually separate entities. Yes, they can connect with one each other, but no, they're not. They are exclusive.
time with Russia. We're right now negotiating a nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which is
Great, but okay, the Navalny was poisoned. What are you going to do to Russia thing? We're negotiating a treaty about nuclear.
very important.
By the way, we pulled out of the treaty. Trump pulled out of the treaty, but
It's a very important thing. To me, it's the
Yeah.
most important thing. Some people say global warming. I don't. I say this is far more important. And
can we do both?
we are the biggest. They are the second biggest, nuclear-wise.
Yeah.
China's third. They're actually a distance.
I'm not sure we're the biggest anymore. And not that it matters. We can blow up the world 30 times over, but I think we were. I could be wrong. I mean, we could start building up our arsenal again. I have no idea. I haven't been losing sleep over it.
and third, but they're building pretty rapidly. And at some point, we'll include China into those talks, but we're doing very well with Russia on nuclear non-proliferation.
Okay, but again, the question about poisoning Navalny, that's the question that we're...
So I don't know exactly what happened. I think it's tragic. It's terrible. It shouldn't
the Germans
happen. We haven't had any proof yet, but I will take a look.
Well, you got German intelligence, one of the Five Eyes, telling you that that's what happened. How about that? Is that not proof enough for you?
It is interesting that
Are we not allies with Germany anymore? Did I miss something? Are we back in World War II with the suckers and the losers?
everybody's always mentioning Russia. And I don't
Russia, who attacked one of our convoys in Syria last week, who flew right in front of one of our B-2 bombers within a dangerous distance last week over the skies. I think it was Denmark. I keep saying Denmark in my head. If I'm wrong, guys, correct me. But yeah, that Russia that we've been doing the nuclear proliferation deal with for 2 years, but it's really coming along well.
don't mind you mentioning Russia, but I think probably China at this point is
China poisoned Navalny. He's onto something here.
a nation that you should be talking about much more so than Russia, because the thing is
Because
that
they poisoned Navalny, so that he's lost me here. He's so much of a genius. He's that far ahead of me.
China's doing are far worse. If you take a look at what's happening with the world, look at what happened with the China virus. Look at what they did by not keeping that within
Oh, Navalny got the China virus. Okay, now I think I'm...
the confines of China. They should have kept it in the confines of China. Look what they've done to
So they should have kept the asymptomatically spreading novel virus within the bounds of the border because they have a virus wall. Is that...
188 countries all over the world, but you never ask about China. You're always asking about Russia. So
Well, China didn't poison Navalny. Am I? David, can you Snopes that? Did China poison Navalny?
I would be very angry if that's the case. So we'll take a look at the numbers and the documents, because we're going to be sending a lot of documents over the next.
The numbers? What numbers do you need to know that he was poisoned? Well, I'd like to see your numbers. He was poisoned one time? Well, that certainly sounds like good. That's probably up in the air at this point. What about China? How many times was China poisoned?
Next few days.
Mr. President.
Please, in the back.
Thank you, Mr. President. During the conventions, During the conventions, Kimberly and Don Jr. had an outreach to the Indian Americans community with a video called 4 More Years for You, which has gone viral among the Indian Americans in the battleground states. So my question is, would Kimberly, Don Jr. and Ivanka Trump, who are very popular among Indian Americans, would be campaigning on your behalf among the Indian Americans with your views on India-US relationship?
Well,
Okay, so the question was, there's an Indian committee that has produced a 4 More Years video that's being shown in swing states. I have not seen it. And the question is, are Ivanka, Don Jr., and Eric going to be campaigning amongst Indian Americans on Trump's behalf?
I didn't understand everything you said. I know India, and I understood those young people that you mentioned. They're very good young people.
Yeah, those are your kids. Are you going to ask for clarification? Because there are other people in there. If I can understand through my headphones from 3,000 miles away, somebody else there in the audience understood what he said. So if you could, are you going to ask for clarification, I assume?
And I know their relationship to India is very good, and so is mine. And Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, and he's doing a very good job. Nothing easy, but he's doing a very good job.
Yeah.
We're talking, while we're at it, we're talking about China and India.
Are you even going to bother finding out what the question was?
Going at it pretty good on the border, as you know.
Yeah, but the question was not about China and India. Nothing to do with China and India. Nothing to do with Navalny and the China virus.
It's been very nasty. It's been a very nasty situation.
Thanks, Noel. Oh, thumbs up.
And we stand ready to help with respect to China and India. If we can do anything, we would love to get involved and help. And we are talking to both countries about that.
Right, but the question is, are Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric going to be campaigning for you in the Indian American community?
But I appreciate your nice sentiments. They think a lot of India, and so do I, and I think a lot of your Prime Minister. Thank you.
So my question was about Indian Americans. Do you think they are voting for you? Are they supporting you?
I do. We had an event in Houston, as you know, and it was a fantastic event. I was invited by Prime Minister Modi, and this was this was at where they play football, the Houston football team, and it was.
He literally forgot the name of they're the Texans, aren't they? Aren't they the Houston Texans? Am I having a aneurysm right now?
It was incredible. It was actually incredible. And the Prime Minister could not have been more generous. We have great support from India.
Wait, the Texans aren't changing their names like the Redskins. Are all the NFL teams changing their names? It's about time.
We have great support from Prime Minister Modi, and
I'll tell you what, I love Indian food. It's a little bit spicy for me. I love Chinese food. I love both foods. I don't see why everybody can't get together on a meal. And because I know in India, you have McDonald's, but there's no beef on the menu because cows are sacred. So you have your chickpea. And then in China, they have McDonald's. So both countries really should get together like the shell of a Big Mac. And without the plastic straws. And I keep asking, what about the silverware? Why do we have the silverware? So thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you very much for your question.
I would think that the people, Indian people, would be voting for Trump. I also, as you know, went to India just prior to the pandemic setting in.
Well, yeah, why not the Indian people voting for Trump? You're asking the American people to vote for Trump twice anyway. I think he's referring to Indian American people, not just Indian words. There's a big brouhaha between India and China, and
India's been hit very hard. left really about a week before that. And
Yes,
we
you
had
were
an
there.
incredible time.
You did.
What we saw, the people are so incredible.
Uh-huh.
It's really an incredible place, and
Hold on.
great support from India.
The word
We
is
have great
incredible.
support from Prime Minister Modi, and
Try and
I
use
would
it as
think
many
that
times as
the
possible.
Indian people would be voting for Trump. I also, as you know, went to India just prior to the pandemic setting in, because
Waiting for
India's
the
been
magic
hit very
word.
hard.
Yeah.
Left really about a week before that.
Yeah.
And we had an incredible time.
1,000.
What we saw, the people are so incredible.
2,000.
It's really an incredible place, an incredible
3,000.
country, and it's definitely big.
Can you go one
It's
more?
definitely big. But you've
One
got
more
a
for the
great
charity.
leader, and he's a great person.
Oh, great. It's not going to
Do
do
you
it.
think China is bullying India?
3 times.
I hope not. I hope not. But they're certainly going at it. They're going at it much more strongly than a lot of people even understand. Yeah, please go ahead.
You have no idea what's going on. What? What happened at the end there?
And he's a great person.
Yeah,
Thank
incredible.
you, sir. Do you think China is bullying India?
I hope not.
No, look at his face.
hope
He has
not,
no
but the-
idea what to say here.
It's an incredible country, and it's definitely big.
He has answers. He has answers. He has access to more top secret information than anyone on the planet. If anyone knows the answer to this question, it's President Trump.
It's definitely big. But you've got a great leader, and he's a great person.
Thank you, sir. Do you think China is bullying India?
Do you think China is bullying India? Is the question. He's going to think about that one.
I hope not. I hope not. But they're certainly going at
Leadership, Trump 2020.
it. They're going at it much more strongly than a lot of people even understand. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, if they're dual citizens, David, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. Just to follow up on Alexei Novotny, you just said you haven't had any proof yet. Do you have any reasons to doubt the results from Germany?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't. I hear Germany.
Hasn't had any proof yet. Excellent question. Do you have any reasons to doubt the intelligence of Germany? Someone just asked that question a couple of minutes ago. I think it was one of you guys, was it? Because whoever did was quite insightful. Why aren't we trusting Germany's intelligence? You know, one of the Five Eyes, one of the allies.
Has made was it definitive or almost definitive? But we have not seen it ourselves, no.
Almost definitive.
But we have not seen it ourselves. But I would certainly be okay with that. They want to do something. They want to take action.
Yeah.
Shouldn't happen.
Right, but what are you going to do? As the preeminent superpower on the planet, what are you going to do about Putin poisoning his political rival?
Shouldn't happen. But again, we are working very closely with a lot of countries on a lot of different things.
Right? China?
We've taken stronger action against Russia than any other country in the world,
Obama.
as you know.
Obama.
I'll tell you, President Putin would tell you that
Yeah?
right now. But the fact that I get
IWOC.
along with Russia and that I get along, frankly, with everybody right now, I'm not getting along with China, but that's my choice. I don't
there's
like
China.
what happened with respect to the
China.
pandemic, with respect to the China virus. I don't like
China.
it at all. What they've done to this world and this country and Europe and every place else is
China.
terrible. But I do get along with President Putin.
Yeah?
But
So are you going to tell him not to poison people? Are you going to do that with your buddy?
I've been tougher on Russia than anybody else by far. If you look at
Awkward.
the Obama administration, they were weak.
There's Obama.
Look at the land they gave up. Look at what happened with respect to Ukraine. Such
Yeah.
a big part of Ukraine given up during the
That would be Crimea. I don't know if he's going to remember what it's called. But yeah, Putin took over Crimea during Obama's administration. And for that, sanctions were handed out, as well as they were kicked out of the G7. And Trump wants them back in the G7, which would again make it the G8. He's said this many times. So
Obama administration.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would have done that with me. I don't think they would have done that with me at all.
really?
We gave
Because they have no problem poisoning people with you. They have no problem literally ramming our vehicles in Syria with you. They have no problems flying within 100 yards. Closer than that. What was it, 25 meters? How many is that in yards? Like 4? Come on, metric people. How close did the Jets? Somebody look that up. How close did the Jets get to the B-52 this weekend, or this last week?
Tank busters, and they gave pillows. Did you ever hear that expression? They sent pillows, and we sent tank busters to Ukraine.
We sent Javelin missiles, but the Javelin missiles were not to be used against pro-Russian forces, so they're just sitting in warehouses. But he'd be happy to provide you with some more aid. I'm going to need you to do me a favor, though.
So, but with that being said, if we can do a nuclear non-proliferation agreement, that would be a great thing. No,
Right, not what we're talking about at all. No one is talking about the non-proliferation.
but I would not be at all happy if that were the case. And it looks like it might
The New York football team, one of the top New York football teams.
very well be the case. I mean, based on what Germany is saying, that seems to
500 feet, that's more than 100 yards. Thanks a lot, at random.
be the case, John.
Let's say 3 hectares. That sounds really close.
Mr. President, I just want to ask you about something you said a while back. It's been talked about many, many times. Back in 2015, you said that you didn't think John McCain was a hero, that you prefer people who don't get captured. In light of all that's happened since then and all you've learned, do you regret saying that? Is it something you wish you had not said?
I say what I say, and I never got along with John McCain. I disagreed with John McCain. You know that better than anybody, frankly.
Well, at this point, John Carl should just say, why? Why do I know that better than anybody? How would I know that? How is this better? How would I know this better than you? How would I know this better than John McCain? How would I know this better than his family? And how? How do I know that? I'm not a mind reader. I'm John Carl.
I wasn't a fan.
100 feet. That sounds better, at random. Thank you for checking on that. Go ahead and make it 50 feet next.
I disagreed with many of his views. I disagreed with his views on these ridiculous, endless wars. I disagreed with the way he handled the vets, the VA. The VA is running much better now, and we did with the Mission Act and the accountability and all the things we've done for the VA. He was not able to do that, but I just.
John McCain wrote the act. John McCain wrote the act that President Trump just said he was not able to get done. That's why he disagrees with John McCain, that loser, that non-hero. He wrote, it's literally called the John McCain Act. What is happening?
Disagreed with John McCain on a lot of things. That doesn't mean I don't respect him. I respected him. But I really disagreed with him on a lot of things, and I think I was right. I think time has proven me right to a large extent.
But on this notion of preferring people who aren't captured, do you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier in the statement that you read before questions, you spoke about how you believe that we're, as you put it, rounding the corner on the coronavirus pandemic.
I do believe that, yeah.
You said that yesterday as well, and I think everybody would love to see the pandemic come to an end. There's no doubt about that. But I wanted to ask you about a forecast that has come out from the IHME at the University of Washington. And they are forecasting by January the 1st of next year that we'll have 410,000 American deaths from coronavirus, which is 200.
Not only did John McCain author the original act in 2014, the thing that Trump thinks he signed, which is the act, is just an amendment to it. It was a Financial Accountability Act of 2017. He also sponsored that with John Tester. So
25,000 from where we are right now. So can you explain how you see us rounding the corner based upon that projection?
If I didn't close up our country, if I didn't stop China, highly infected, from coming in, if I didn't stop Europe from coming in far sooner than anybody else, including Dr. Fauci and others, wanted to.
Dr. Fauci was the one who said you need to do it. Well, we have evidence. Would anyone like to see that video where Dr. Fauci explains that was their idea and that Trump followed theirs? If anyone hasn't seen it, I'll play it. Otherwise, we'll move on.
And Dr. Fauci was very nice. He said President Trump made a great decision. We would have far more than that. But maybe even more importantly, if I didn't close up, we would have, instead of the number that you mentioned or whatever it may be, we're about 180, we would have perhaps 1.5
190, but yeah.
for 2 million deaths right now.
But there were many countries that didn't close up, and they don't have those kind of numbers. So, I mean, the math just doesn't work.
Went a different direction, which some people wanted me to do, and I decided not to do it. We'd have 2 million deaths. Now, a lot of countries don't report their deaths. Obviously, China's not reporting because they had far more than we did. China had far more deaths than we did, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. But they don't report their deaths, or they don't report them accurately. And I don't want to embarrass other countries, but I can tell you there are other countries where the death toll is far higher than the United States, but they don't report deaths. We report it to a level that nobody reports it. We also do testing in cases. I watch your broadcasts and I read your information, your media outlets very, very carefully, and I look at the word cases, and the reason, I say it 100 times, nobody wants to pick it up, but we do testing at a level that nobody ever dreamed possible. We have the best tests, and we have by far the most tests.
That's not true. China has 160 million tests. We have 85,000 tests.
Actually, India, as per your question before, India is number 2, and they've done a good.
India's number 3.
Good job, but they're about 40 million tests behind us, and they're
that's actually accurate. That's about right.
Country of 1.5 billion people. Now, because of all these tests, we have far more cases. If we cut our cases in half, if we cut our testing in half, we'd probably have about half the number of cases. If we cut it down to levels, there are some countries that don't test. They test when somebody walks into a hospital. That's the test you get. They walk into a hospital, they're sick, that's your test.
Countries in Africa are in that shape, yeah. But almost all industrialized most industrialized nations are testing asymptomatically as well. This is all available. If you want to check any of these stats out, you can just go to Our World in Data. They have all these stats, including what countries are testing asymptomatically, etc. They're doing a fantastic job of covering all of this.
We have tested more and better, and you just see where we now have millions of tests coming in from a certain company that's done a fantastic job, and it's going to be anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes on the
You can just say the name of the company. It's okay.
Spot, very accurate test. But if we had...
I mean, you have no problem saying Goya. Just say the name of the company.
Much less testing, no testing.
I mean, you can't say the name of Houston Texans, but what is going on today?
You wouldn't be reporting cases.
Crimea, did he eventually say Crimea? I don't even remember.
But you saw this, I don't want to go over the statistics, you all wrote it down, but you see how we're doing compared to the rest of the world, and you see, and if you took out New York, which has been a tragic situation,
part of the
amount of people that died in New York.
You can't just simply take out a major state in the U.S. It's still a part of the United States.
Yes, thank you.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I can't remember if that was a comedian's routine at some point, or it's something that I've observed from a very young age, where if you just say no, I'm just saying, then it makes everything okay. Like, man, your wife is pretty fat. What the hell, dude? That's my wife. No, I'm just saying. She's, put on a few pounds. She's put in, are you saying hey, I'm just saying. And then everything's okay. So can you take the United States? How do you take New York out of the United States? No, I'm just saying.
The rest of the world, and you see, and if you took out New York, which has been a tragic situation, with the amount of people that died in New York,
you can't just simply take out a major state in the U.S. It's still a part of the United States. New York is.
No, I'm just saying.
You can't take it out of the equation.
I'm just saying. New York has been in particular.
I'm just busting your balls.
Whether it's badly, incompetently, or whether it's unfortunate, and I appreciated Governor Cuomo saying that I've done a phenomenal job, and he said very good things.
He
said bad things too,
Sure.
Later on, when he had no really other choice. But if you took out,
you can involve China and Obama in this somehow and ignore Navalny. So watch him answer the question about Navalny definitively right now on the Cuomo issue.
New York from those numbers, you can multiply or tremendous success by a lot. But
What?
look, the bottom line
What?
is that
What does that even mean?
things too, later on when he had no really other choice.
Yeah.
But if you took out New York from those numbers,
Yes.
you can multiply our tremendous success by a lot.
Yeah, 50 to 80% right there. What? How can anyone listen to this man? How can anyone listen to just that answer? How can any American listen to that answer in and of itself? Just take that, here's your 30-second commercial, just listen and tell me that he is the best person in the country to be president. That he's any better than Biden. That he's better than your dog. Take out New York, you just took our success and you can multiply it by any different number of people will tell you.
But look, the bottom line is that
Is this just me today? Am I can you guys hear what he's saying? Do I have him on mute? Because why are
the job we've done on
Hey, you got a beautiful state there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it, Cuomo.
COVID-19 or the China virus, China plague,
China
call
plague.
it whatever you want. There are a lot
China
of different
flu.
names. But it's
Kung
been
flu,
incredible.
Hong
We've also
Kong.
helped a lot of other countries, especially with ventilators, because
Yeah.
we are now, we build ventilators at a level that nobody ever thought possible. So,
No. Everyone thought it was possible. They're just machines. You build them. No one said it wasn't possible.
So you don't see that forecast being accurate, the one that I cited to you?
yeah, but you didn't hear me. If we didn't do what I said,
Right, but you didn't hear me. That's not the question that I'm asking. This is a question about the future. You keep dwelling on the past. The two are diametrically opposed to each other. Can you see that? Hey, I'm just saying. Hold on, I'm gonna press it. Hold on. Okay.
we would be at 2 million deaths right
But
now.
you're taking that into account, it's just going forward.
No, they're not taking that into account. I had a choice to make.
So the scientists at the University of Washington, the preeminent, they've been quoting the Emmy for a while now as defense and how good things are going to get. And every time, for example, what was it, the end of the July 4th or something, we were going to have, here I am quoting stats, and I'm like, oh, just randomly. No, they said we were going to have 60,000. We had 159,000. They said we were going to, by September 1st, we were going to hit 160,000. We hit 189,000. It's just nonsense. So they've underestimated every time so far, I think, the UW labs on this. And now he's claiming that UW doesn't have access to the information he's talking about from 8 months ago?
If we made the wrong choice, the number that you have, which is less than other countries, but the other countries don't report deaths. They don't report them to the extent, and they're not accurate. You know that, and so do I.
Okay, but we're talking about America, sir. America. I really need to be in that room.
Because you take a look at some of the things happening in certain other very large countries. First of all, we're a very large country.
Yeah, great. Not talking about any other countries. Let's stay with America. I like what you're going there. You're saying we're a large country. Let's go with that. 400,000 deaths. Your turn.
But you take a look at things happening with respect to the reporting of deaths in other countries.
Yeah, not talking about other countries. Talking about right here, right now, USA.
And I say, give me a break. So it's been amazing. But we made some moves at the beginning. China, big. Europe, big. But the biggest of all was closing it down, understanding the disease, and we did. And now we know it's the elderly. It's especially elderly if they have heart, diabetes, if they have problems. And we're watching it, and we're watching it very closely. And by the way, we're doing super testing with respect to that. Super testing. But if we did it a different way, instead of the number that you said, but basically the number that we're at now is approximately 180,000, we'd be at 2 million people right now. Could be higher than that.
The fuck is super testing?
The Russia vaccine, Mr. President.
I don't know anything about the Russia vaccine. I'm not sure. We have our vaccine, and our vaccine.
Is he talking about batch testing? Because the Chinese have been doing that with 25 people per batch since 3 months ago. You know, the ones without the best testing.
I think it's going to be the standard. It's going to be great. These companies are incredible. They've come up with the great vaccines over the years, and that's the vaccine that probably most of the people in this room are going to want to take. Right?
Thanks, Mr. President. A quick clarification on the mic.
Standard. It's going to be great. These companies are incredible. They've come up with the great vaccines over the years, and that's the vaccine that probably most of the people in this room are going to want to take. Right?
Okay, well, what about the rest of America? And why? So the question was, hey, the scientists at the UW say that we're going to have 400,000 dead by the end of the year. That's about 300,000 a day in December. What say you, Mr. President? Give me a break. You guys are all going to want to watch this vaccine. It's the best vaccine time.
Mr. President, a quick clarification on my question. The $300 billion, is that from the Main Street lending program, or is that from a different part? Where are you?
It's sitting in an account, has not been spent, but we're willing to spend it. No, we're willing to spend it.
Right, but where's it from? What account is it sitting in? That's the question.
I'd like to get approval from Congress. There's a theory that
you have to get approval from Congress. You found that out with the wall, remember? What you did was illegal. Again, what Trump has shown us, the ultimate learning lesson from Trump is that the executive branch is way too powerful. There are no consequences for the for the executive branch. This is what we have to take away from Trump. And if Biden really wanted to score points with me, it doesn't matter because I'm going to vote for him anyway. Even though my vote for him really doesn't count, it's just so far. But someone should have led. Kamala should have led with, I will take away the power of the presidency. Make me president and I will sign legislation to limit the power of the executive branch. Because this is not what the Founding Fathers wanted at all.
That I don't have to do that, but I'd rather be up front, and I'd like to get approval from Congress. Let it go directly.
You'd rather be up front?
To the people. It would be a great stimulus. It's actually more stimulus than we're asking for in terms of pure stimulus. This would be pure stimulus. I wouldn't have to let prisoners go, some very evil prisoners go. Think of it. Okay. The Democrats, in order to get what they want and in order to give us what they're talking about allowing prisoners to be released, prisoners that we don't want to be released. So
well, what about all the prisoners you released before? Those are prisoners you wanted to release. So I think there may be a compromise here.
In order that we get money to the American people, they want to say release prisoners and other things like that are very bad. And we just can't do that. We don't want to do that.
And then just to follow on John's question, I know you spoke earlier about the Atlantic story and you referenced the number of administration officials who have come out to support your...
No, we have 11 people. I was just told we have 11 people. There is nobody that feels more strongly about our soldiers, our wounded warriors, our soldiers that died in war than I do. It's a hoax. Just like
the heroes who got captured, that nobody feels more strongly.
The fake dossier was a hoax. Just like the Russia was a hoax. It was a total...
The Senate report just confirmed that, in fact, your campaign cooperated with Russian intelligence. So, as far as hoaxing goes, noxing.
Hoax, no collusion. Just like so many other things, it's a hoax. And you'll hear more of these things, totally unrelated, as we get closer and closer to election. The magazine is a failing magazine, and nobody called me. Nobody called me from the magazine, said, do you have a comment about it? No, they just write what...
No, they called the White House press office. That's how you get... You don't just actually just call Trump, unless you're a morning radio show, and then you get right through.
Whatever they want to write, because they figure you can't get sued. You can get sued, but it's a very hard bringing lawsuits. But we have many witnesses, and it's just a continuation of the witch hunt, so that it can hopefully affect the election.
And the part about the gravesite with General Kelly, that's been confirmed. I'm sure General Kelly will testify on your behalf.
But the American people are too smart. So whether it's the fake dossier
The American people are not too smart. That is not a thing that's happening.
that turned out to be a total fraud, or so many other things have turned out. I've been under investigation from before I even got elected. These people have gone after me more than any president in the United States in history. In the history of the United States. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And despite that, we've done more in the first 3.5 years than any administration. There's been no administration that's done more. When you add it all up, there's been no, despite all of the...
Add it all up for us, would you? Could you add that up? Give us a number?
Horrible political games that have been played. But there's nobody that's been able to do what I've done. And that includes the Great Mission Act, because what...
John McCain, Barack Obama, 2014.
Obama passed was a joke. It was a joke.
It was not a joke.
And we took it to a level that nobody thought possible, and that includes accountability. So
that also 2014.
It's a disgrace that somebody's allowed to write things like that. It could have been, a lot of times the sources aren't sources that don't exist, and sometimes the sources are just people that are disgruntled former so-called employees.
Well, my question is sort of about that. I mean, the notable voice that's been missing from the denials is your former chief of staff, John Kelly, who was obviously intimately involved in this. How are we supposed to read the fact that John Kelly hasn't?
I know John Kelly. He was with me, didn't do a good job, had no temperament, and ultimately he was petered out.
That's the General John Kelly. No temperament.
Exhausted. This man was totally exhausted. He wasn't even able to function in the last number of months. He was not able to function.
Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing from John Kelly on Trump's behalf shortly.
He was sort of a tough guy. By the time he got eaten up in this world, it's a different world than he was used to.
Yeah.
He was unable to function.
So much tougher than the military.
I told him, John, you're going to have to go. Please give me a letter of resignation. And we did that. And now he goes out and badmouths. Now, there are people...
Kelly hasn't said anything on this.
People that are jealous. There are people that are upset that they're not here anymore. There are people that we've done an incredible job. The virus came in, and now we're doing an incredible job again. We're going to build it up bigger than it was before the virus came in. But I don't know that it was him. I haven't seen that. I mean, I see anonymous, but it could have been a guy like a John Kelly. Because he was, just so you understand, he was a very, you look at some of his news conferences, what happened to him. He got eaten alive. He was unable to handle the pressure of this job. This job was a tough job. Mark Meadows doing a great job. But Kelly was
until he gets let go.
Able to do that.
Yeah.
And as far as that day, I mean, we have so much proof.
By the way, he doesn't call him General Kelly anymore. It was always General Kelly while he was under the president's auspices. But yeah, not General Kelly since.
As
General Flynn, yes. General Kelly, no.
To going to I went to Paris and the environs, and I was all set to go. They had arranged.
Look at this. Just look at this chyron. I think you guys can see that. Yeah. General Kelly, Trump. General Kelly, not able to function. That's a president about his former chief of staff. I don't know that there's anybody worse in terms of people. It would make you feel so good in terms of mind than Trump.
Show him the likes of.
Is it just me, or does when he said it in terms of mind, or for the, what did he say? From the standpoint of mind. Does that seem like 8 hours ago now? Time flies when you're having fun, and it just drags when you're watching Trump. From the standpoint of mind.
Which you've rarely seen. The fog was so great. It was as dense as I've ever seen, and I almost knew that you couldn't use the helicopter. And because they had to drive through, I guess, certain parts of Paris, the Secret Service, who, by the way, we have people here that were on the trip. They're writing a report, unable to even think about it. And I said, nope, I want to go. I insist on going. It would have taken us forever. The Paris police said, please, you can't do this. They'd have to shut down various parts of Paris. And it just was not a possible situation. The helicopter would have been very quick. They had the helicopter all set, but the helicopter could never fly in that kind of weather. So, and that turned out, and that's all documented, by the way. We have all of the information from, and probably will release that information. But I think it's a shame when a second-rate magazine, I don't read it. I know very little about this magazine, but when a second-rate magazine can write things like,
why isn't it third rate? Third rate just sounds like 50% worse than second rate.
That about somebody that's done so much for the military, can write things like that and get away with it, where you actually ask questions on it. It's a disgrace, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And let me just tell you, I watched...
Wait, why do they have to be ashamed of themselves? They didn't write the article.
The interview with Sleepy Joe Biden, and he didn't ask questions. You didn't ask questions like that. Read the...
They weren't there.
Questions, yes. They were like meant for a child. Those questions were meant for a child. Smiles on faces of reporters, not like you and you. They were smiles on the reporters.
You're not smiling. Make them smile. I don't like that.
What do you think? Take a look at those questions that they ask him.
No, he's not a dictator. The press is not smiling. I do not like this. Does not please me.
They were not meant for a grown-up. They were meant for a child. So I just want to tell you, it's a disgrace, because you look at what I've done for the United States military. I love those people. I've gotten them pay raises when they didn't get anything near what I've been able to do. And I've rebuilt $2.5 trillion. I've rebuilt the United States military.
Not a thing.
And now we're including Space Force. Nobody's done more for them. And then when I have to...
Dude, you never served in the military. You literally never served a single day in the military. So it's really hard to say no one's ever done more for the military than me when my nephew is currently in the military. When my other nephew when my dad was in the military. People died in the military. Both my grandfathers, military. The fact that you never served a day in your life in the military, the fact that you threatened to disown your own son if he signed up for the military, yeah, really hard to argue that.
Have a report read like that from a third-rate magazine that's not going to be in business much longer. I look at that and I think it's a disgrace. And then when I watch Biden getting asked questions...
Who sent 2 of his sons to the military, by the way. Blue Star family. Let's hear what he has to say about the Blue Star family in the military.
That are really meant for a child to answer. Anybody could answer. And I look at the level of question that you people ask.
Again, let's go back to the previous answer from Trump. Give me a break. Child.
I mean, honestly, it's disgraceful. So I want to thank you all very much. We appreciate it. And we're doing very well.
That's nice.
We're very, very proud of what's happened with respect to the economy. And I think that before the election, you're going to see a third quarter announced. The third quarter will be at a level that our country has never seen before.
Hi,
Next
Sean.
year, we're going to have a year that was better than last year. And I feel very certain it'll...
That's not how tense works, but okay.
...be better than last year. It'll be the greatest year we've had.
Yeah.
And the whole reason this is working out this way is because we set a foundation for this country like we've never had before. So next year's going
Well, I mean, you're literally Obama and Biden's foundation, but okay.
to be a fantastic year. But remember this, the third quarter is going to be announced sometime prior to the election, by a few days, actually. And I think it's going to be...
I wonder if that'll get pushed up. That would be interesting.
Record-setting type numbers on GDP and other things. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, coming from a 33% drop. So yes, it will be a record number. It will be a fantastic number. It'll be a 25, 35% number from dropping 33%. So that becomes the new baseline on the GDP. Now, if it's not spectacular, they will then spin it like they tried to spin the last year over year. And we take a look at the last 3 months and your last 3 seasons since I've been in the Canadian, I'm going to bang it. And it's David. Come on. Well, sure, there's been several things called the Atlantic, David. 1857, your version of the Atlantic, yeah, but there's been the Atlantic Magazine, the Atlantic Ocean, the Atlantic Division in hockey. I gave up. I didn't think anything else was going to come into my brain. I don't have much of one, but I'm sort of attached to it. Yeah, this is live right now, Sean. This is happening, Sean from the dentist. But you reached us to the end. Oh, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. The Atlantic Texans, also the Atlantic New York football team. David, boom! Fact check, Snoops.
Thank you.
President Donald Trump in the White House briefing room with an optimistic look on the economy, answering questions about the Atlantic piece. We'll get into that in a minute. Good evening.
Woo! Look at producer Joanna with the fact check. The Atlantic Monthly, by the way, was founded. Okay, we just want the Atlantic Monthly, not the Atlantic Monthly, by the way. That's two different magazines. Was founded in 1857 by Ralph Waldo Emerson Longfellow, Whittier Oliver Wendell Holmes Green Whittier, and Harriet Beecher Stowe Waffles. Saw Wikipedia. Says Wikipedia. That Atlantic. So what do they think? Let's see what the big headline is from the Fox. Oh, see, well, this is not the guy you want. When it's on the 5, then you'll get a bunch of people chirping about something or other that really doesn't matter. President come. President come. Good night, folks. Drive safely. President Trump coming out strong against Russia.
Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. We've just watched this news conference with the president. This, as voting has now officially started in the 2020 election. More than 600,000 absentee ballots being sent out today in North Carolina. 28 other states will start sending out ballots in coming days, and people will be voting. In this press briefing today, the president insisting a story alleging he has called Americans killed in battle losers and suckers is fake news, in his words. The Atlantic uses statements from unnamed sources in a very detailed story. Several people in the Trump circle, as you just heard there, are saying on the record the allegations are false, while other unnamed sources are adding more context and background, and we'll lay it all out for you tonight. Meantime, Joe Biden calls the reported comments from the president disgusting and said today, quote, if true, it proves he is not fit to be commander-in-chief.
Well, I mean, hard to argue with that. Let's see. They're talking about Kanye on CNN. And on the readout, we don't watch the readout. And only for one reason. Joy Reid has a show. It's called The Readout, which I get. It's political. You get a readout of meetings. That makes sense. I wish he'd gone with Joyride. I really do. I mean, yeah, I know it doesn't make any sense, and it's a little bit sexual, but I just wish. Okay, kids, it is Friday. There will be more broadcasting this weekend, I'm sure. I don't think things are going to slow down between here and Ejection Day, so stay with us. Okay, so yeah, Fox is just having a parade of veterans defending Trump. I don't know if the other networks are going to bother with all of that, but we just saw that Trump's approval rating in the military is at an all-time low. What publication was that in? The Atlantic? No, it was in Stars and Stripes. Actually, I don't even know. Ejection Day, November 3rd, when we eject Trump from office. So, hey, everybody. Go to iwillvote.com if you haven't already requested your absentee ballot. I think that's about it for today. Anybody else have some news to report? If not, we'll get going here. You guys are quite a ways behind. So I don't even know if I'm going to wait for y'all. So we managed to fix the chat room. We're working on getting us more up to time with YouTube. Hey, that's what I forgot to do. Call to action, everybody. If you'd like to support the broadcast, and I really hope that you do. If you enjoyed this sort of thing, this sort of analysis, then go to kevinleefather.com and become a patron. I'd love to have you. Or if you want to send a one-time donation like producer Rich just did, paypal.me/KevinLeeDad. I really appreciate it. I know several of you have in the chat room or out of the chat room who don't take place in the chat room have sent in some funds lately, and I really appreciate it. To give you an update, the $400 extra per month that you're supposed to get from President Trump, still not getting that. Kevin Lee Daughter has been working And California has some questions as to whether or not she will be getting any of that $400. I don't even know if California has approved it for happening yet, but it only took me 134 days to get my original unemployment, so I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. So the readout is covering Biden. Anderson Cooper is talking about the Atlantic article. Oh, let's watch like a minute of Tucker Carlson just to cleanse the palate. Palate?
Held a company-wide meeting.
Oh, hold on. Dr. Howard's here. Okay, so say hi to her. Tell her to get better. I haven't been watching the chat room a whole bunch, but I'm guessing, Stephanie, that you've been talking to Dr. Howard. Dr. Howard, by the way, one of our Kevinly family. She is she's in the Dollar Shave Club, or maybe she's a lifetimer. She's a special. She wanted a special designation, so we gave that to her. So yeah, you know what I was going to do is I was going to create a Slack channel for everybody who's a patron or a PayPal, and let you guys chat away in that room, which I would then check in once in a while. I was thinking Slack because it's been recommended to me and I've used it before. If you guys have a better chat idea, let me know. I don't know, does Zoom even do like a chat thing, a non-video thing? Because it'd be nice to have the ability to either video or chat. You know what I'm saying? Type or video. I'm done. I'm out of words. That was an hour and 36 of that. Yeah, so I'll put together that at some point. I got a bunch of... Oh, here's the thing. So I've been using GoDaddy for the past X number of years to host my websites. I want to stop that. Now that my contract with them for web hosting is up, I want to find a new web host. And I don't even remember why, but they somehow supported Trump, and I want to be rid of that. Plus, once to get into GoDaddy, it's cheap. Once you go to the renewals, the price goes way up. So if anybody has any good web hosting plans that they know of, feel free to send them my way. Thanks to Lizzie, if you're in here, Lizzie, for doing all the research on finding those phrases for me. I have no idea how you did that quickly during the broadcast this morning. Let's just check in with Tucker here, see what's going on in the world.
Really, it was more of a group therapy session. The company's chief financial officer, Ruth Porat, broke down in tears as she spoke. She asked how Google could, quote, use the great strength and resources and reach we have to continue to advance really important values, end quote.
That's fine. It's a private company. Why does everybody have a problem with the company? If you don't like the company, don't use the company. You don't like Facebook, don't use Facebook. It's fine. Companies are allowed to do what that's America. Why are all these Republicans so upset with free enterprise? I don't get it. The entire world is topsy-turvy. Okay, so that's enough of Tucker. I think any amount of Tucker is too much Tucker. Plus, Tucker Carlson doesn't exist. He's a myth. Guys, be good to each other. I'll leave the chat up while we head out.
Where are you going?
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what?